This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everybody. Questions? Go ahead.
Francis Pirus, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
So, more and more, I find myself in the thought about the truth, and it definitely feels then when you are actually the understanding. So, I'm afraid I have intellectualized my understanding. So, I guess I need some clarity in trying to and I've asked you this before, to get away from the mind, the blank mind state versus the true understanding. Do you have any suggestions? Or am I clear in what I'm asking?
Well, it depends on what is meant by to intellectualize understanding. Let me give you an analogy in mathematics. The first time we prove a theorem, we understand the proof, hopefully. And then we may prove it again several times, and then we may also find different types of proofs of the same theorem. And of course, even after proving it the first time, we are pretty certain of the validity of the theorem. And then we apply it. Whenever we apply it, we don't need to prove it again. In other words, we don't need to understand again the process. We just know the result of the theorem, and we can apply this result immediately without having to go through the process that led to the understanding of the proof and therefore of the truth of the theorem the first time. So it is the same here. Once we understand, however we formulate it, that there is only one reality and that awareness is real. Once we understand that, we don't really need to go back to the process through which we acquired this understanding. We can just remember the result of this process and apply it to the current situation, to the current circumstance we are facing. You see, it will work as a charm because our understanding is true, just as a theorem which is true will work as a charm in the body of mathematics we are working on. So to say, now I have intellectualized the understanding, that's true. If what you mean by that, that I have replaced the entire process of understanding the theorem by simply the formulation of the theorem, which is a sentence in my memory. That doesn't make the theorem false. The theorem is still valid, and the sentence through which I remember it in my memory is sufficient for me to lead to its application to the current case.
Yes, that helps very much, and that's the noticing of that one sentence that keeps putting me back where it is. So that is very helpful. And then the second question,
because then you see the beauty is that we don't need to prove it again. All we need to do, okay, I am applying it
yes,
in the current circumstance, which is the current circumstance is always different. And the current circumstance is always different, and it works. And the proof is in the pudding, if you will.
Yes, indeed. The certainty of the statement always is there and without a shadow of doubt. So that's that. Going back to that is although intellectualizing from what I'm getting from you is that it's an okay process. All right.
No, because what is not intellectual would be the application of the understanding to the current situation. And that's not intellectual at all, because it will involve the way you perceive the world, the way you perceive your body, the kind of decision you take or you make in this situation, etc. So it's really not intellectual, because it is about your life.
Yes, it comes from the true understanding. Yes. So along the same line, but when I'm doing the body yoga, or even when I sometimes sit down and contemplate the bodily sensation, why do I get the feeling I am behind the shoulders, the neck, and the head? I am behind the body, or something. I can't localize exactly, but I'm behind the body.
You have to look more carefully at what you mean, what is behind, and you'll see that it is often it's going to be another bodily sensation. We say in France, where we have a lot of trains and railroads, and there is in the train station in France a warning sign that says, warning, a train can hide another train. Meaning you don't want to cross the tracks, because there can be another train coming behind which is hidden. So it is the same here. The bodily sensation or the feeling often hides another bodily sensation or feeling. So in other words, you feel your body and your body is in front, and you feel I am behind. But that which is behind, if you think about it, can only be another bodily
sensation. Yes, I see it now. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah,
exactly. Because awareness cannot be localized.
Yeah,
or located. It's in relation to a bodily sensation. Only a bodily sensation can be located in relation to another bodily sensation. So when I have the feeling I am behind the body, or even if I have the feeling I'm behind the head, there is still a more subtle bodily sensation with which I identify at that moment. But because it's more subtle, once I discover it, then at that moment I am the space. You see, because what I have to clearly understand is that which perceives is invisible. That which perceives, it cannot be perceived.
Yes.
Phenomenally, and we really have to stick to that and not allow ourselves to be deluded again by a bodily sensation into thinking that's me.
Yes, thank you. That's helpful. Thank you very much.
Hi, Francis.
Yes, Caitlin?
Hi, I wanted to clarify something you told me the other day, that you said the truth is unforgettable. And does that mean we've never forgotten the truth? Like even when we're in ignorance, we're just like ignoring the truth, but it's never forgotten?
Yeah, but what we are cannot be forgotten.
It's just like
Because,
lurking beneath the surface.
because we aren't. It's like the color of your eyes. You may forget it, but it's still there.
So there is some shallow level of forgetfulness.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just trying to understand when we're
And,
believing to be a person, like where does it go?
This forgetfulness happens when we believe to be a human body.
Yeah. That it's ever available.
We have to understand that separation is not real. Because if there was true separation between two, let's say, for instance, between two human beings, if there was true separation, they couldn't possibly talk to each other or perceive each other or see each other or hear each other. They couldn't possibly interact.
Yeah.
So the separation is not real. It's a convenient approximation that may be useful in certain cases, but it's not real. For instance, to be aware of the borders of my physical body can be useful to avoid bumping into objects. So that's useful in that sense. But I have to understand that this separation is an illusion. I'm not really separate from the air I breathe, from the oxygen that goes into my body, from the water I drink, and that replenishes the cells in my body, which are made, I don't know, 90% or more of water. So this interaction with the world, this non-separation is the reality of the situation of the body. So the separation of the body is an illusion and is an approximation and is not real, even at the level of the body. In the same way, at the level of the mind, because the mind is exchanging information with other minds, the separation is not real. The mind is made of information, basically. Mind stuff is information. And information circulates, just like on the internet. Where is the internet? You see? The internet is a fact that information can circulate from computer to computer. So what the internet is not an object. If people believe that the internet is an object, it is not. The internet is really information circulating between nodes.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
So we are not separate really as bodies. We are not separate as minds either. But in addition to that, as awareness, we are truly one. And it is this awareness, in fact, that is the real connection. Because it is a substance of both that which is physical and that which is subtle. It is both the substance of the physical world we perceive as its reality, and it is also the substance of the thoughts and perceptions of the mind, of the subtle world, if you will, as its reality. So for us, it's obvious that awareness is the reality of the mind. It's less obvious to understand that it is also the reality of the physical world. And to understand that, we have to understand that there is only one reality, and that separation doesn't exist. Obviously, we are not separate from the physical world. We are separate from the mountains, the planets, the sun, etc. There is a complete continuity. So as a result, we share the same reality. The reality of the universe is our reality.
I think for a long time I was contemplating like consciousness and awareness, and like you say, it's we correlate that with the mind, and then something shifted when I started contemplating what's true and what's real, and that, yeah, like just thinking about the truth, somehow I was able to I know there was more understanding with this word. There's something that just reverberates. It's just like a change in words, but like you just said, I can start to see the truth alive, like in everything around me.
Yeah, you know,
Even in, go ahead.
in ignorance, we see the world as made of matter, and we see the mind as made of thoughts, and they seem to be completely separate. But then with wisdom, we see both the mind made of awareness, reality, and we see the world made of reality, awareness. So then the separation is abolished. There is no separation at all. It's all one. But I had someone sending me a message, a friend, and she was saying that, I don't remember what she was saying, but something like, well, I'm not really convinced about, what you say about the fact that there is no separation. I'm not convinced. I understand intellectually, but I'm not convinced that there is not a separation, because I have the experience of union with God and of separation. And I told her, the problem is, no, that's not what I told her. I told her, the separation is an illusion. The oneness is the reality. So that's what I told her. And what is important to notice is that we tend to place the separation and the oneness on the same level. And to say, yes, we are both separate and we are both one. And that's a big mistake. Because obviously, either you are separate or you are one. To say we are both separate and we are one doesn't make sense. That's a last-ditch effort of ignorance to maintain itself. And the reason why we cannot make these two as two interchangeable possibilities is because one is true, real, the other is an illusion, is false. So you cannot make that which is true, that which is real, on the same level with that which is an illusion. Why? Because they never connect. For instance, the person you encounter in your dream, right? When you wake up, even if this person in your dream gave you her phone number, when you wake up, you don't try to call this person because it becomes obvious that this person was a complete illusion, and so is her phone number. It would be silly to say, okay, I'm trying to call this person because she gave me the, I mean, you can try, but you understand that it is really silly. Because why? Because one belongs to an illusory world and the other belongs to a world which is, for the purpose of this metaphor, real, more real. So the two cannot be put on the same level, the two cannot communicate, therefore you cannot call this person while you are awake. Too bad, you should have called her during the dream.
That's perfect. Yeah, that leads into something else I've been thinking about. This idea that it's not that the world is an illusion, it's that separation is an illusion. So in any given moment, what I see, what I perceive is absolutely as real as me. What is not real is my concept of it, how I conceptualize my perceptions. That's where things get really messed up.
Yeah, concepts will always fall short because the concept is not the thing it designates or it refers to. So concepts will always fall short, and then it's very okay to use concepts, provided we don't, provided we understand that our concepts are never true. They can be apparently true or relatively true, but because the world is not the thing, the concept is never the experience. So as an example, the concept of separation may be useful, but the moment we believe it to be true, then we're in trouble.
Right.
And in our experience, in our direct experience, there is no separation. You can see that the separation always comes as an afterthought, as a concept.
That's true.
Our experience is totally devoid of any separation.
Yeah,
For
I was
instance,
just noticing. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, for instance, the head and the body of the cat. I mean, a cat is a cat. Because the cat, you know, his head and his body are one. So in anatomy, you can separate the head from the body of the cat, but it's just a conceptual. You could say, because the division between the head and the body of the cat is completely arbitrary. For instance, you could say, what about the neck of the cat? Is it part of the head or is it part of the body? Depends where you cut, right? So, which shows that separation is always conceptual.
Right. And actually, like I've been noticing as you go, I go through my daily life for the majority of the time, there is no real concept of a person. I'm doing what I need to do, but there's not this, like you said, it's an afterthought. But when I'm living my life, there's barely a person there.
Absolutely.
If that, yeah.
Even
So,
in the
and
case of even the case of ignorance, people are not in ignorance all the time. There are many things they do, many moments when they would act exactly in the same way if they were not in ignorance. It's just that ignorance is this pesky belief that keeps creeping up because it is kind of maintained. It has never been challenged. So it keeps creeping up when people have a moment of availability. Why? Because it is an unresolved issue. And unresolved issue, they come up again and again and again. It's like if you don't pay your taxes. The problem, the Uncle Sam is not going to forget or to forgive. So if you don't pay your taxes, the problem will keep coming up, coming up, coming up. And it's the same with ignorance, because it's a mistake. It's not going to get erased unless you really erase it, and then it's not going to come up any longer. Or if it comes up in the beginning, it's like an old habit, but because you don't follow suit, this old habit will leave you sooner or later. So that's the difference, is that you can do away with ignorance using your desire to liberate yourself from it.
And is it safe to say if our understanding, as our understanding grows stronger, that ignorance kind of erases itself, takes care of itself? Or is there
Yes.
really things we have to do?
Or we can, as awareness, using these instruments, which are the body and the mind, we can cooperate to this process. Definitely, that's what yoga is about. That's how thinking about the truth is about. In the case of higher reasoning, when we think about the truth, we use the faculties of the mind to do away, to take out the leftovers of ignorance. And in the yoga, we use the techniques of the yoga to liberate the body from contractions and patterns of movement, postural patterns that are consistent with us being separate entities, us as awareness being separate entities. So we can cooperate on these two fronts, if you will, with the stabilization process that follows any glimpse, and it accelerates, of course, this process greatly. It's called a sadhana. It's called, yeah. So there is a double, if you will, this process has two aspects. One aspect, which is almost invisible, that proceeds behind the scenes. I say almost invisible, not quite, because when we have a glimpse of truth again, we are aware of that. And as a result, something gets released. And there is a visible aspect to it, a more proactive aspect to it. Reading books about the truth, asking questions from a teacher, attending retreats, doing yoga, meditation, all of that.
Yeah. I used to be reading, like I couldn't stop reading, you know, spiritual scriptures and meditating and doing all the yogas, but lately I don't know, there's been I mean, a little bit here and there, but I just find myself like just thinking about the truth, like almost obsessively. So, um, I've been taking a lot of time, but I had just one more thing I'd like to run by you. Okay. I mentioned it briefly earlier, just about you know, like the perceptions of the world in the moment they appear being as real as me. I know they're not as real as me because they come and go, but I've been curious about the reality of like the phenomenal world, because I think I was trying to understand it as like all an illusion, like it's just some appearance on a screen. But I mean, it's really real as it appears. It's really real, right? And I'm talking about like just like, you know, not necessarily like thoughts or feelings or stuff like, but just like this experience of living on Earth and being a human. Do you?
You see, what is really not real is the separation.
Okay, yeah, we just talked about that.
That's what is not real. And everything else is real.
It has to be.
You see, the separation is not real. But think about it. If the separation is not real, it means then there is only one thing, right?
Right.
And that thing is the reality. So that's why the formulation can be made very simple, as I just said it. The only thing which is not real is the separation.
Okay.
Nothing is separate from anything else.
Okay.
So the only thing which is not real is the separation. If you eliminate the separation, everything is real. But the rest, if you eliminate the separation, the rest, which is real, is one. Because in a reality in which there is no separation, there is only one reality.
Right.
So then whatever you perceive is this reality, always, this one thing. We
Yeah, it's not
always,
anything else.
we always see the same thing, and that which sees and that which is seen are the same. You see, it's like, imagine, look at this analogy. You see your hand, right? So you see, okay, that's my hand, that's me, I see me, right? So the physical eye and whatever in this analogy. That which is seen and that which sees are the same. Now, if the body is my universe, if the universe is my body, you know, when I see the tree, it's like I see my hand. You see, whatever I see is me. And there is no separation. There is only one reality. That's a true perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I could, as I could easily understand, that's the perspective of love, of course. There is no separation. And
Yeah, I've been thinking of.
it is the only true love. All the rest is fake love. You know, I love you. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it as like Yeah, reality just like giving itself to all that appears. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Because all the other forms of love, there is a desire involved. Even a very religious person, when they say, I love God, what they mean is, I desire God.
Mm-hmm.
So there is something about something personal in it. You see, I want God for myself. Why? Because I believe to be separate. Because if I know I'm not separate, then I don't desire God. I can only desire that from which I am separate. So there is, in desire, there is still a suffering because there is a separation. That's the difference between the mystic and the sage. And the sage is constantly in oneness. The mystic goes through periods of ecstatic reunion and then separation and reunion and separation. And the mystic wants still to exist separate from God,
Yeah.
which is a lack of humility, which is arrogance to feel I am a reality independent from God. That was actually, if we look at the tradition, you know, Lucifer was an angel, and he was the one who was carrying the light. He was the angel of enlightenment. Then he separated himself, and that was his demise. So that's, of course, it's almost all of that is symbolic. It could be said that separation is the origin of sin. Separation is the original sin.
Thank you, Francis.
Francis?
Yes, Isa?
Hi, Francis. um, I would like to share my experience with you and just to maybe have your feedback on this. Okay, so my experience is that I'm one with nature. I can feel I'm one with the trees and the earth and the sky, the mountains, with nature in general. I feel I'm one, like, yeah. And when I'm in contact with a human being, let's say in this truth, I can feel the presence that I am, that we are, this presence. This is the way I experience it. You call it reality. To me, it's more presence, like um, being, just this being, this presence. And I can feel in that field with someone that we are this presence. However, when I inquire, I know I am aware, but what I'm not able to see is that this awareness that I am is the same awareness in you or in anybody else. I'm not able to see that. So I inquire lately a lot. And even when I'm in this presence with someone in truth who is on the same path, in this presence I inquire, is this awareness that I am in that being as well? Are we the same? I mean, experientially, I'm not able to see that. I feel
Yes,
the presence, but I'm not able to see if it's me, the awareness, the same in the other human being. But with nature, it's very easy for me.
that's good. Now, the problem is that when we speak of awareness, you and I, we may not be precise enough. So we may be using the same word, and in fact, we may be talking apples and oranges. So what is awareness for you?
Okay, it's a knowing. It's a deep knowing. Um, I can see two things. I see first, I know I exist. That's my first experience. I'm aware that I exist. But this deep, and I'm aware that I'm aware. I'm aware that I can perceive something deep inside me perceives uh, everything externally, internally. I don't know how to put it in words. I'm not so good at that, but it's a deep knowing inside of me that I feel is beyond the I am, the I exist feeling. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's my experience.
Which one comes first? Awareness or being?
Okay, I'm doing it right now when you ask me. Uh, I'm aware of my being.
Maybe you are both in this sentence.
Yeah. Is it the same? Like I feel my being, and when I feel my being, it's like I'm fully alive and I experience the world, the universe, and I feel like life is flowing through this body, and I'm fully present,
Yeah, yeah.
and there are no thoughts. That's the experience I have.
Isa, let's go back to your question.
Yeah,
Because your question was, yes, uh, there is being and there is awareness. And
yeah,
however, there is a distinction between them because I have no problem feeling that I share my being with the world, with the trees, with the animals, and I assume that the animals includes also human beings, right? But but I am not convinced that I share awareness, right?
Yes,
So,
that was my question. Yeah.
so implicit in your question was a distinction between being, which is shared, and awareness, which you are not sure is shared.
Which I'm not able to see that it's the
Yeah,
same.
no, which you are not able to see that it is. That you said I'm not able to see that it is the same awareness. Yes, meaning that
Yeah,
I share it with others.
yeah, yeah,
So being is
yeah,
shared. Awareness, not sure it's shared. However, with my questioning, I
yeah.
led you to the experience that being and awareness are experientially indissociable. Experientially. Intellectually, we can associate or dissociate anything with or from anything. That's intellectually, we are very good. But experientially, which is kind of where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, experientially, awareness and being cannot be separate. And therefore, if they cannot be separate, they have to be considered to be the same thing.
But why am I not able to see that? Because I feel that I'm,
Well, because you are looking in the wrong direction. You should, and I am trying to attract your,
yeah,
to make
I can
to make
feel.
you to make you look in a certain direction, and every time you come up with the objection. How comes?
Yeah,
Just
I
look,
understand. Yeah.
just
Okay.
look at what I just told you.
Okay, I'm looking again.
Can you experientially dissociate awareness from being? In other words, can you experientially have being without awareness or awareness without being?
No, I cannot.
Okay. Then, if you cannot, if you say they are separate, you say that out of pure bullshitting yourself.
Hmm.
Because you have no evidence to say that.
Yeah, but I'm not so good at understanding intellectually.
No. It's not. No. It's not intellectual. It's experiential. No. That's a, that was a very cheap thought you took. And
Okay.
don't try not to take this because it means, oh, it's intellectual. That's one way not to look at something.
Okay.
Because would you say that the fact that you know that you are aware is intellectual?
No,
Or
it's
is
not at all. It's experiential fully.
okay. Would you say that the fact that there is being is intellectual or
No,
experiential?
not at all.
Would you say that the fact that you cannot have being without awareness or awareness without being is experiential or intellectual?
It's experiential for sure.
So it's not intellectual.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what is intellectual. What is intellectual is something that you determine to be true without any supporting experiential evidence.
Hmm.
No, I don't like your Your is still hesitant. So I need,
Because I never asked myself the question that you just did. You asked me right now if with being and awareness, if I don't know how you formulated it, if I'm aware that I am. I don't know how you asked it.
no, okay. Whether let's go back to that. Let's not linger in the past. Doesn't matter. When I say that being and awareness experientially cannot be separate, is that true or not?
Okay, I'm looking one more time now.
In other words, can you have awareness without being, or being with awareness without awareness?
No, I cannot. That's
And
clear.
that's experiential, it's not intellectual.
No, it's experiential.
The formulation of it is intellectual, but who cares? What you understand
Yeah,
is an experience, it's experiential. So never from that moment on, never dare put the word intellectual onto this understanding.
yeah, I understand. Or allow this thought to pop up,
Yeah,
the thought that I
immediately
had.
cancel it immediately, because you can always go back to the experience and verify and experientially verify that you cannot have awareness without being, and you cannot have being without awareness. Yes, I
Yeah,
like your.
so true.
So then, let me tell you what is intellectual. What is intellectual would be the claim that it is possible to have awareness without being, or being without awareness. That's purely intellectual, because you can never verify that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, that's why it makes you happy, because you got rid of some.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels good. Yeah. It's very clear.
Yeah, because we are attached, there is attachment to all belief systems. And
Yeah.
these all belief systems is kind of, awareness is separate, being is, or reality, what I call reality or being, is universal. You see? Whereas in fact,
Yeah.
in India, they have this expression, Sat Chitananda, Sat, being, Chit, consciousness, right? They
Yeah.
are Sat and Chit. When you have Sat and Chit together, and that uh,
Ananda, bliss, no?
Ananda Maya Rupa, the other one.
Mm.
That's a mudra. Because when Sat and Chit are seen as one, you see, then you have Ananda automatically, and Maya,
Mm.
then Namarupa. So in the presence of Namarupa, you still have Ananda, provided you don't make any distinction between Sat and Chit.
Hmm. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy. Thank you so much, Francis.
Now, you have the name of an Upanishad.
That's funny. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, Francis,
Yes, Dennis.
um, today's questions seem to have an unusual degree of coherence. At least that's the way I'm experiencing it. and mine is sort of along the same lines. I have noticed that some questions seem to have just drifted off into irrelevance. I can't necessarily say that they've been answered in a way that I could explain, but at the same time, my moment-to-moment experience of living, has shifted considerably. And I'm wondering if perhaps that shift is the answer in itself. And then another question is if a question has seemed to just become irrelevant or just sort of wink out, then can we consider that to be answered and dispatched of, or not? Is that going to be something that will return and is completely resolved? Because I'm just going on the what seem to be very positive changes in experience.
I noticed that the other day when you asked a question that from the onset you were a little bit dismissive of the intellectual approach, and I hope during the last exchange, the last conversation I had with Isa, it became clear that no, it's not intellectual but experiential. The words lead to the experience of our true nature, to the experience of reality. So now it's for you to know, because there might be two reasons why we drop the thought about the absolute God. One reason is because we've got the answer, and we are the answer, and then the words were the instruments through which we caught the answer. Having caught the answer, the instruments that were used for this catch can be jettisoned. But another reason may be that we gave up. That we gave up out of a feeling that words and thoughts were more like wind, that the realm of concepts was never intersecting with reality, and that philosophy was a purely gratuitous game of words, splitting hairs. And as a result, we gave up to everything that was theoretical, feeling that it was purely useless. And as a result, that we were seeking something that was more substantial, but the pitfall there is to seek something substantial, phenomenal, some kind of experience that has some meat to it, that has that is tangible, that is not evanescent and as the intellectual understanding, but something which feels like, you know, eating a double portion of French fries. You see, that as a result of a double portion of French fries plus a cheeseburger, then the stomach feels full. Because in this process, we are not filling up the spiritual stomach. We are surgically removing the spiritual stomach. And that puts a nice end to our hunger.
I'm not sure what to say. You may well be right.
It's for you to see. It's for you to see whether you are, because if when we have completely explored the concepts, we truly have no questions. It's not that the search on this field of research has ended because we have given up, but it has ended because we have satisfactorily found the answer. That's a question you ask. Am I satisfied? Am I satisfied? That's all. That's all. Am I satisfied? That's a real question. And different truth seekers and truth lovers may be satisfied having reached different intellectual or physical conditions. The only real question is, am I satisfied? Because if I am satisfied, I'm free to celebrate. Do I sense do I still feel a sense of lack? It's very different. Of course, we can also in this intellectual realm, we can decide that some questions, you know, that's modern philosophy is a lot about that, to eliminate questions that don't make sense. Wittgenstein, for instance, is very good at doing that. To show that question about God, awareness, reality, etc., don't make sense, and therefore we shouldn't be asking the questions. However, the problem with this approach is that in order to make the determination that a question doesn't make sense, we need to make a judgment. And the judge, in order to make a judgment, has to refer to the law. According to what is this behavior an offense? You see, and then who writes the law? Who decides the law according to which you are going to judge that a question makes sense or not? So this apparently logical approach to eliminate nonsensical questions is again one trick of the magician, but it's not real. Because although we can claim that question about God, about death, don't make sense, to find a logical sense to this question is not the problem. But the problem is to put an end to the misery that these questions are trying to get us out of. As the philosopher, I think this was Jacques Maritain, said, the goal of philosophy is to liberate us from the fear of death through the use of reason. And then there is a goal. But this goal is not theoretical. It's a very practical one. And that's the answer which has to be found. The answer which has to be found is peace and happiness. That's the answer. We cannot fake the answer. That's the beauty of it. We cannot fake it.
I'm thinking of a growing adolescent face where not all parts grow at the same speed. So the nose may grow, and then the face looks a little distorted for a while, and then the jaw catches up, and so on. And I wonder if there's something similar going on here, that well, I don't know. I only know that increasingly there's just this sense of lightness and joy and a sense of relief, deep relief, that comes out of that. Just, I don't know where it comes from, that's around. And I used to have it maybe 4 or 5 times a year, and now it's parts of every day, sometimes large parts of every day. And
That's the only thing that matters.
well, but as you say, it's phenomenal. And
No,
it's
no,
maybe
no,
there's
no.
some part that some part of whatever I am, in which these questions have been answered, but not all parts are. That there's still a division, and not all parts are aware that answer and that answering has occurred.
But to when I say it's phenomenal, no, what we seek often is phenomenal, like the double portion of French fries that fills up our stomach. But the disappearance of fear, you can call it a phenomenon, but it's more like the absence of a phenomenon. And in the absence of the veil of fear and desire, in the absence of misery, if you will, there is this inner peace, but inner peace itself is not a phenomenon. Because inner peace doesn't have phenomenal quality, extension in space or time. It is much more intimate than that. It doesn't have a color, it doesn't have the worrylessness. Is it blue? Is it red? Is it round? Is it square? You know, this background of peace, does it begin? Does it end? The peace that ends is not peace.
Are you asking rhetorically or?
A peace that ends is technically just a ceasefire.
Right. Well, my current experience is that there are definitely periods of time throughout the day where I'm much more aware of that. And then others where it sort of recedes into the background. But having well, I'll have to say experience more and more, and so strongly, it's as if the memory of that is always there in the background now. And so even when I'm not focused that way, for whatever reason, there's still a kind of an echo.
Do you know, Dennis, the knower of those states?
Mm-hmm. Well, the knower would be not so separate from the states themselves.
Would you? So the knower goes off and on as the states go off and on?
No. Oh, I see what you're saying. No. Mm. You know, in movies, there's I think it may be called a rack shot, where you have, say, two people talking in the foreground, and then there's something, and they're clear, and then the background is sort of fuzzy, and then the camera shifts, and suddenly the what was in the foreground and clear becomes fuzzy, and the background becomes clear. So it's more a kind of a fluid um, switching back and forth between those two areas of focus, but it's still the same scene.
Which one is you?
Both, probably, or neither. Maybe the let's see. The context in which that double scene exists. You know, the screen and all that surrounds the screen, and what is also taking place within in the screen.
Which one is the real you? The background or the characters in the foreground?
Both. Or neither. Sometimes both and neither seem to be not so different.
Let's put it this way. The characters on the foreground constantly change, right?
They could. Yes.
Is it not true? Can you think
Well,
for a single moment when they don't change?
no.
They always change,
Yes.
constantly. Isn't it true?
Yes.
Does the background change?
In this analogy, no. No.
But no, by background, I mean the knower, because my question to you was, do you know the knower of those states?
Well, then the knower would not change. No.
What is the rationale that lead you to make the statement that they are equally real?
Because in that analogy, both the background and the foreground occur in against a larger background.
I am not talking about, I think I'm not talking about an analogy here. I'm talking about the knower,
Okay.
that the knower of the states you were mentioning. The fact that you were mentioning the states implies that they are known. And of course, you are the knower of the states.
Right.
So we are not in an analogy here.
Okay.
So I apologize if I gave you this impression. So in your experience, there is a knower, you, and the states that you describe. And my
Yes.
question was, the knower doesn't change, and what is perceived, the states are constantly changing. And then I ask you the question, what leads you to believe, what is the rationale that leads you to believe that they are equally real?
Because I think I was confused whether we were discussing the analogy or not. So
Okay.
my apologies for that. And I don't know that the states, my experience of these states is that that the states themselves change that much. It's more the I would say the degree of intensity that fluctuates.
I think okay. So I think here we need to make a correction, because if you think that the states are not changing that much, you live in a fantasy world. So I redirect your attention to the state, because the content of awareness constantly changes.
Okay, I think we've been talking at cross purposes, and that is the problem. So apologies for that.
So the state changes, right, constantly.
Yes.
And the knower doesn't.
Right.
So then, going back to the question, is there any valid reason to determine that the level of reality of the knower and of the states that it knows is the same?
There was a verb in there that I didn't catch. I'm sorry.
Now, is there any valid reason
Valid reason. Okay.
Valid reason to determine that the states which are known by the knower are as real as the knower that knows them.
No.
Right. In other words, and I agree with you, therefore I don't have to give you, I don't have to drive the nail into this coffin any further, but let's beat this dead horse a little more. By, for instance, during the night dream, right? It's obvious that what is the content of the night dream is an illusion. However, the witness of the night dream is real, the awareness is real. So there is a case, at least during the night dream, when the content of awareness, meaning the foreground, is less real than the background.
Yes.
Therefore, that suffices. That's enough evidence to determine that awareness is more real than its content.
Yes.
Mathematically, logically, it's sufficient to have a counterexample in which the content of awareness is less real than the awareness to prove that awareness is strictly more real than its content.
Yes.
I think I will leave it there because there are all kinds of consequences that flow from that understanding.
So this is one way that questions become irrelevant. It's like here, where they sort of fall apart. It's like having a handful of old lace that is sort of rotting, and then you handle it, and it just falls to pieces. That's one way.
Well,
It disappears.
well, but what falls to pieces, what is false? That which remains is the understanding that this invisible presence or awareness is more real than whatever it perceives. Whereas in the culture we live in, it is usually understood that it is just the opposite. That the mountains are more real than our awareness. That a block of granite is more real than our mind. And since awareness is seen as being a function of the mind, conveniently, then it is determined in our culture that the mountains are more real than awareness. So that's why I said once you have reached a conclusion that awareness is more real than its content, whatever that content is, you are crossed the Rubicon River, then you are on the other bank, and then there is a big new territory to explore on that other bank, because there are far-reaching consequences to that discovery, which I leave to you all as homework.
Thank you.
Hi, Francis.
Hi, Francis.
Judith, you were
hi.
first.
This might be a very stupid question, but because I'm just getting so so many things happening from these conversations, but the content of awareness is awareness. Yes?
Yes, but awareness is not its content.
No, but the content of awareness is awareness. So,
Yeah, in other words, it's like the ocean is made out of water, but the water isn't made out of ocean because there is water in bottles,
right.
there is
So,
water
yeah, so
in
the question
sources. Right.
is, since the content is made of awareness, how could the content be less real than awareness in the sense that it's all awareness? And wouldn't saying more or less real give it a bit of sort of
But it takes the example I use of the night dream. The night dream and the people in the dream, the landscape in the dream, they are the content of awareness during the dream.
yeah. And so,
So when you wake up, it turns out that they were not real. Why? Because they have completely disappeared. They are nowhere to be found. They were not real. They were a fancy of your imagination. But awareness has remained the same.
so is that equivalent to sort of what you're calling states, and that's why awareness isn't a state, because it's
Yes,
a way of
awareness.
assessing it by calling these states and
Awareness
less
is
real and
awareness is a reality of all states.
right. So those states are within awareness. They're made of awareness, but the problem I'm having is the relativity of realness. You know how there's more realness or less realness. So it's a
Yes,
so using
we
the
can,
word state, yeah,
we
using
can
the word
have a we can have a kind of a reality test, and the reality test goes: B is said to be more real than A if you cannot have A without B, but if you have B without A. For instance,
wait, say that there, say that again. I'm sorry.
the water is more real than the ocean because you cannot have the ocean without the water,
Right.
but you can have the water without the ocean. So the water is the substance of the ocean, if you will, is more substantial than the ocean. Another way to say it's more real in that sense than the
Okay.
ocean. You see?
But they're
So
both the same.
you can have, no, they are not the same.
Well, not the same, but it's
No,
only
no,
words.
no, 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 no. Wait a minute. The
Okay.
words are important.
Okay.
No, the true nature of the ocean is water, but the
Yes.
true nature of water is not oceans.
Yes.
So they
And
are
now is
not the
that
same. Do
no,
you
no,
agree that they are?
not the same, not the same in that sense. But
So
is
they are
it
not the same.
no? But is it only because we're using words and analogies in that sense? Because if everything is awareness, everything, and there's no separation, and nothing is separate, everything is one thing or one not whatever. So it's only in order to explain things to us that we use these words, how you said intellectualizing, so we can try to get a grasp
Yes,
of
but
the ungraspable sort of thing.
it's important to understand this hierarchy of realities, if you will.
Yeah, that's a something I didn't.
So
I mean,
with
I
this
know there is, but
hierarchy of reality, you see, you could say, for instance, if we go back to the ocean versus the water, right?
yeah,
Uh, uh, Oxygen is more real than the water. Why? Because you can have oxygen without the water. You can have oxygen
okay.
in an iron oxide, for instance, or but you cannot have the water without oxygen because water is
Right.
H2O, right? And
It's a bit of an onion then.
and the proton is more real than oxygen. Why? Because you can have protons without oxygen, like in a hydrogen atom, but you cannot have oxygen without some
Right.
proton at the nucleus, right? So, etc., etc. So we have in this way, it's like these Russian doors, you
So
know.
that's how it would go down to, so the emptiness of, and it's empty.
And
And
then the question is,
that's how everything's full in emptiness. In a
when you
sense.
have in this way a hierarchy of realities, right? The
Yeah,
question is, where does the buck stop? Is
exactly.
there is there an ultimate reality, right?
Oh gosh. Okay. Oh, okay. That's given me lots of homework. Thank you.
Okay.
That's very good.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Francis. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Francis.
Thank you, Francis.